Good day, denizens of the internet. My name is Dez Harding, as most of you already know from viewing me across the internet, on social media, and my YouTube channel here. And what most of you don't know about me is that I play games. I play Dungeons and Dragons. Not only do I play Dungeons and Dragons, and games like it, but I also run them. And what I wanted to do was to create a video series about how I play my games, namely play-by-post, which is the whole purpose of this segment, the play-by-post connection, PBP. It's a fun way to interact with people across the world, and I am going to get very basic in my explanation of play-by-post and gaming. So if you're not new to play-by-post, feel free to listen to the episode anyway, but it's probably going to be very boring. So let's get into it. First, a little bit about myself, because as a GM, I always feel inclined to talk about myself to my prospective players. So, I tell them a little bit about me. I tell them about the time that I have to post, which is usually very limited because I'm a full-time security officer. I've played RPGs most of my life, whether I knew it or not. I used to dress up with my friends and run around the neighborhood and basically LARP, and it was great, and I didn't even know it. Now I just do it for fun. The first actual real RPG I ever played was Werewolf the Apocalypse, and for some gamers, I'm really dating myself, and other gamers, they're like, psh, youngling. But hey, we all gotta start somewhere. White Wolf was my start, and the first game that I actually GM'd was Exalted. Yes, the T-Rex flying the fighter jet is very real. Very. And then after GMing a little bit in Exalted, well, storytelling, I took a little hiatus. I kind of broke away from doing any kind of gaming for a long time. A very long time. I actually didn't get back into gaming till 2013, I think. Maybe 2014. Even then it was on a kind of tenuous basis and still very forum-based, which is the crux of what I'm talking about here today, is forum-based gaming. So, getting right into it, what is a play-by-post game? I know, I said very basic. A play-by-post game is a game where the players and the GM tell a story, and it's all text-based. All the characters say and do is written out in long form, not acted out on a screen like you would do when you do virtual tabletop, or even like real tabletop where you sit across from each other. It can be played on various mediums like Yahoo, Instant Messenger, Google Hangouts, Skype. I've even, I've used forums, I've used other chat mediums to play play-by-post games, and some of the popular ones that I still use today are Google Hangouts, Mythweavers.com. I also use RPG Crossing, Roll20, things like that. I'll get a little bit more into them a little bit later, but that's just to give you a little feel for the kinds of places where you can go to play play-by-post games. And so when I play games online with friends and people that I meet, what I do is I try to get the PDF versions of the books, because usually when I play play-by-post, I'm not necessarily in an area where I can be lugging around dozens of rule books with me. So I'll get the PDF versions of the books, I'll buy them online, and I'll put them on a cloud storage of some kind like Dropbox or Google Drive or something, just so that I can have access to them, or even put them on my cell phone or tablet so that I can utilize them whenever I need to, especially if I'm GMing a game and somebody asks me something, or if there's an attack coming up from a creature. Monster manual's right there on my phone, just pull it up. Okay, the whatever does this, that, or the other, and you take 1d8 damage or whatever it is that happens. And most of the games that I play nowadays are Pathfinder and D&D 5th edition. So I make sure I always have access to the rules for both systems, because those are the two that I play most commonly. And in play-by-post, you can really play anything. You can play D&D 2E, 3.5, any of the White Wolf games. You can play Fate, which is brilliant fun. You can play GURPS, you know, your generic RPG systems. And you have a lot of versatility with play-by-post gaming. And in fact, it's so versatile that you can even, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this a little later, freeform, which is basically just writing. And that's another one of the popular ways that I like to play as well. And dice rolling can be customized right into your post. So, you know, say Barbarian Johnny decides he wants to swing his longsword at the kobold, and then you just kind of, the way you code it so that the dice roll is right there in the words with the roll right there, and boom, everybody knows that Johnny now rolled a natural 1. Brilliant. Good job, Johnny. And you know, a lot of these places where I go to game, they make it really easy to store character sheets online as well. So you always have your character available, and you don't have to have pieces of paper floating around everywhere with you. It makes GMing a lot easier in that way, and for me as a player, it makes playing easier in that way, because now I can have all my character sheets all in one spot right there on the website. Just bring them up whenever I need to access them. Like, okay, what do I need to roll a Constitution save? Oh, hey, I don't have proficiency, I roll +1. Okay. Just things like that. This makes it easy, and there are all kinds of, you know, tools that you can get to supplement what the websites give you. There are apps that you can use on your mobile devices if that's how you choose to game. And it's how I choose to game, is I game mobile. And our next topic is, why do we do play-by-post? Most people do play-by-post because it's very time flexible. You can work on a post all day long if you need to, and you just post when you can. And it's not very structured in the way that most games make you, you know, you got to come together for like a 4-hour block and sit here and, you know, interact with people, which is great fun. I do it too. I game a live game every Tuesday in the morning, and it's an international game. I got a player in Scotland and a player 2 miles up the road from me. So it's very interesting to be able to interact with people all over the world in a live game that way. But in play-by-post, maybe somebody doesn't speak English very well, but they write it better. They can play a play-by-post a lot easier and interact a lot easier with English-speaking folks in that way. And you can play more games. Let's just face it. We're doing this because we love to play the games. We love the characters. We like the stories and the plots. And so, you know, we can play lots more than we would normally be able to do if we were doing live tabletop gaming or even virtual tabletop gaming, where, like I said before, you're sitting around for 3 or 4 hours together. You can't exactly play 5, 6, 10 games a week with a huge group like that. And so play-by-post gives you the flexibility to explore different stories all at the same time. And for people who like writing like me, that is just amazing fun right there. The downside about playing this way, and I'm sure you've all seen it and experienced it and can figure it out really easily, is it can be slow and tedious when you're waiting on other people to post. You're hitting the refresh button about once an hour to see if somebody's updated. and especially combat can be very tedious if you don't put limits on your players. Like, okay, when we're in combat, I expect one post off each character once a week. That's a reasonable expectation to have for your players. Especially, you know, with busy schedules and holidays coming up. And I know this month is the NaNoWriMo, the National Write a Book in a Day, or Write a Book in a Month. And I know a lot of people are really busy and just don't have, you know, the time to dedicate, like, posting in 10 games for, you know, once every day in every single game and have decent enough quality posts. No, I mean, we can't expect that from everybody. So, you know, the expectation, you know, once a week is a good expectation to have. Some GMs and players can post more often, which is great. There are some games I post in quite frequently, but my posts are short and more dialogue than narrative. And there are a few games that I really like to get deep into the narrative and deep into the character. And that's another thing you can't do in a live game, is you can't really get into the psychology of a character very well and, you know, get to everybody and be able to do that. With a play-by-post game, you can have it in your post, examine the psychology of your character, why they're doing this, what, you know, their thought process is in doing what they're doing. Say Barbarian Johnny notices that the wizard Susie is about to get absolutely obliterated. Well, in a tabletop game, he might just be, oh, I'm gonna smash the bad guy about to smash Susie. All great and all, but when you get into play-by-post, you can actually examine, why is Johnny going after the, I don't know, let's call it a goblin. Why is Johnny going after the goblin that's going after Susie? Well, you get into the psychology. Maybe Johnny likes Susie. Maybe he just doesn't like goblins. You don't know. But it lets you have the freedom to explore that. And you don't even have to be the world's greatest writer to play play-by-post. But, you know, you can just explore more and have a lot more fun with things, in my opinion, with play-by-post than with live gaming. And that's why I do it more than live gaming. So, and I mentioned before the different places where you can play play-by-post games. Let's talk a little bit about those places. I mentioned Mythweavers. Mythweavers and RPG Crossing are both .com websites. And they're both PG-13 websites. So if you're gaming on those, you want to kind of be careful about your language and your content. If you're wanting to play adult games, there are a couple other places you can go where it would be more generally acceptable and things like that. But I like these particular two websites because I like their rolling systems and their codes. Their codes are very similar. And I'll put a link in the description below for the URLs for the websites I'm mentioning. And so Mythweavers and RPG Crossing, their codes are very similar, so you can kind of flip-flop between the sites if you want to and still be able to kind of figure your way through coding your posts with your character picture and the colors for your speech text, however you want to flower it up. The codes are similar enough that you can get by doing either one pretty regularly together. Couple other websites that I use rpol.net, which is one of the best sites if you're planning a mature game with a lot of very violent things or adult situations. rpol.net is the place you want to do that on because they have permissions that are available for people who want to play adult games and mature games. And if that's your thing, that's the place to go. Roll20.net is more of the virtual tabletop site, but I have played play-by-post games, and then I've used the virtual tabletop for dice rolling. The thing about Roll20 for do for play-by-post is it doesn't have the same formatting capabilities as RPG Crossing or Mythweavers, and you can't color the text in your post the same way you can do that there, but uploading pictures is so much easier on Roll20, and that's why I like that one a whole lot. What I do sometimes is in my games, especially where movement counts and you have to count your spaces, is I will upload a map onto Roll20 and I will give my players the link to the game. And I'll let them have tokens that they can move around. Okay, well, Johnny's going to run 15 feet and go attack Goblin C up here, and he can move his token up to that goblin and he can roll his attack. It also helps organize things like initiative, because then you can have initiative order right there, and you know who's going when, who's already gone, who's up next, if that's what you do. And we can talk about initiative order in a play-by-post setting in another video if you guys want. But I'm not going to get that detailed into how you really play in play-by-post in this video. I mean this to be a kind of series and a discussion between GMs and players and people who either want to play in play-by-post games or want to GM play-by-post games or already do. And this video is about you guys. It's not about me. And I have my own ideas and my own opinions, but I don't mean to enforce them on anybody here. This is you guys. This is for you. Obviously, you guys know how to register for accounts for various things. You guys are on YouTube. Yay. Just log into these websites, make your own account, verify emails if you have to. Then you just go looking for players. Every website has its own looking for players or looking for group or game ad section where you can join a game or apply to join a game. Most play-by-post GMs will have a list of requirements for you if you're looking to join a game, where you have to create a character and a backstory, and they're usually looking for a whole lot of narrative in them. I know I am, and all my friends that GM are looking at narrative more than just the character sheet. And yeah, the character sheet's a great thing to have, but it's not the most necessary thing to have when you're applying for a game, unless the GM asks for it specifically. And so you apply for your game, you create your character, you can make the character sheet on the forum. It's the easiest way because now the GM has access to the character sheet and they can look and see what you're capable of and if the attack of their creature will hit. I like it because now I can look and see if my kobold is actually going to hit Barbarian Johnny. Maybe you want to GM a game instead of playing in one. Let's just be sure that you know all the site rules and before you start gaming, because I just don't want anybody here to be going onto one of these sites and just start like a game and then accidentally swear or something and get a moderator on your case. I've seen things like that happen before in other places, and you just want to be polite. And that's going to be a whole other video too, is etiquette. I think I want to do a video on etiquette. I see a lot of people who don't know etiquette. So yes, you make yourself aware of your site rules, and if you've GM'd before, you know how to GM. You create a concept, you build the ad with your concept in mind, and you want it to be catchy and thought-invoking, and you want to use a lot of descriptor words because you want to it's like hooking an audience in a book. If you don't have a good game ad, you're not going to attract the players that you want. So you want something that's going to be very colorful in how you speak, like flowery. if you need to have a visual for what you want to write. You want to use a lot of adjectives and descriptor words and a lot of adverbs, and you want to provide as much imagery for your characters or prospective players as you can, so that they feel that they can immerse themselves in the world and be able to play their character and play in that world and be that person for whatever 15, 20, 30 minutes they're going to spend writing for their posts. And so once you've got your literature all written up, then you insert your catchy title here, and then you launch your game ad. Then it's all downhill from there. You go through the players that apply, and you select the ones you think will work best in your game, and just not just characters, but you also want to be talking to your prospective players in an OOC thread as well. You want to try to get to know them, to know which ones will work well together. And it's all about reading people, which is very hard to do in text. But right from the start, you should be able to start to learn how to gauge people. As much interaction as possible is what I would recommend, because I've seen text come off as condescending when people have not meant that at all. And you just want to be really careful how you write when you're talking to people out of character, and even in character. Sometimes offense can be taken, and I've seen it when it's taken, and it's taken way out of character, and everything just goes sliding down the mountain from there, and everybody's in a bad mood, and games get closed, and players leave, and it's just really uncomfortable. I've dealt with it. I've been in it where characters have made me leave games before like that, and guys, be really careful how you write, because you don't want to be that person who's dropping all this meta stuff and another person is picking up on the meta stuff, and it's just all rolling down the hill and just making everybody uncomfortable. Please don't. Just be careful. Be careful how you write. Be careful how you interact with your fellow players and your GM, because we have feelings on the other side of the screen. We do all have feelings, and our feelings can be quite strong at times. But etiquette, that is definitely going to be its own video. And then once you accept your players and their characters and everybody likes what they've got, then you play. You have fun. And that's what we're here to do, is to have fun. Gaming and creating worlds and creating characters and escaping reality just for a little bit each day. And that's why I love Play by Post, is because I can escape America and all of our drama, and I can get into another world with a whole other kind of drama that makes me much happier. And that's the brilliance of gaming in Play by Post. And that will conclude this session of the Play by Post Connection. If you write your comments below and questions, I want to do another episode in about a month. So I want to have a whole bunch of questions to answer in a discussion-based episode, where I'll be reading your questions and answering them in the video. And I'll also have a little bit of content that I want to share. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet next month, but I will figure it out in the meantime. But like I said, comment below and ask questions below. I won't answer questions down in the comment section, but I will write them down for the next episode. So, all right, I look forward to hearing from everybody, and take care and game on.